17-year-old David Faraday drove his 1961 Rambler station wagon to the side of the road and switched off the engine. Then he turned to Betty Lou Jensen sitting in the passenger seat. He smiled wryly at her. Betty Lou was nervous too. It was their first date and she had butterflies in her stomach. When David leaned over to her, she let out a giggle. David felt relieved because he was just as excited as she was. His tension fell away and he laughed along with her. But before the ice had really broken between them, a car sped past on the road. Betty Lou winced. The car pulled away. Betty Lou tried to relax again. He could feel himself blush briefly. He was glad it was so dark and Betty couldn't see it. Hoping to look cool, he slowly put his arm around her. Then a car appeared again. This time it pulled up right next to him. Annoyed, David wanted to shout at the driver to drive on, but the stranger slowly put his arm out of the window, and David saw a gun in his hand. It gleamed in the moonlight. The Zodiac Killer, one of the most notorious and mysterious serial killers in the history of the United States. A man whose identity remains unknown to this day, who terrorized California in the 1960s and 70s. Who was this gruesome killer, and why was he never caught? In this video, we delve deep into the dark world of the Zodiac Killer, shedding light on his crimes, the mysteries he left behind, and the theories about his identity. Between 1968 and 1969, the Zodiac Killer murdered at least 5 people in Northern California, though he claimed to have killed many more. His victims were mostly young couples spending time in the solitude of lovers' lanes or unsuspecting passers-by, making the attacks all the more chilling. The terror began on the night of December 20th, 1968, when 17-year-old David Faraday and 16-year-old Betty Lou Jensen were shot to death on a desolate road near Vallejo. The couple had parked in a remote area, a spot popular with young lovers seeking privacy. Faraday was shot at close range in the head, while Jensen was shot 5 times in the back as she attempted to flee. The precision and brutality of the killings shocked the local community, sending waves of fear through the region. This marked the beginning of a series of murders that would present the police with an almost unsolvable mystery. The Zodiac Killer's ability to vanish without a trace after each attack, leaving behind little to no physical evidence, baffled law enforcement. His crimes spanned multiple jurisdictions, complicating the investigation as police departments in Vallejo, Napa, and San Francisco struggled to connect the dots. The randomness of his targets, coupled with the cryptic messages he later sent to newspapers, added to the confusion, making it nearly impossible to predict his next move or understand his motives. As the body count grew, so did the public's terror, as they realized that anyone could be his next victim. On July 4th, 1969, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau were attacked while sitting in a car at Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo, a location not far from where the Zodiac Killer had struck less than 7 months earlier. Darlene Ferrin, a 22-year-old married woman, was well known in the area and had reportedly been receiving strange phone calls in the days leading up to the attack. She and her friend, 19-year-old Michael Mageau, had parked in the secluded spot to talk, unaware that they were being watched. At around midnight, a car pulled up behind them, and a man got out, shining a bright flashlight into their car, temporarily blinding them. Without warning, the man opened fire with a 9mm Luger, hitting both Ferrin and Mageau multiple times. Ferrin was shot 5 times, including in the arms and chest, while Mageau was shot 4 times in the face, neck, and chest. After the initial attack, the shooter began to walk away, but returned moments later to fire more shots at the wounded couple, ensuring that they were both incapacitated. Despite the severity of his injuries, Mageau managed to survive while Ferrin succumbed to her wounds before help could arrive. Mageau later provided the police with a description of the attacker, recalling that he was a white man in his mid-20s to 30s, stocky, with short curly hair and wearing glasses. This description would become crucial in linking this attack to the Zodiac Killer. But what truly sets the Zodiac Killer apart from other serial killers are his letters. Beginning in August 1969, he started sending a series of cryptic messages to local newspapers, marking the start of his psychological warfare. These letters contained details about the murders that only the killer could know, proving their authenticity. In addition to the gruesome details, many of these letters included ciphers, complex coded messages that he claimed would reveal his identity if solved. The most famous of these, the 340 cipher, baffled cryptologists for decades until it was finally cracked in 2020, though it provided no clues to his identity. The Zodiac's letters often ended with his infamous signature, a circle with a cross through it, an ominous symbol that became his macabre trademark. By communicating directly with the media, the Zodiac ensured that his reign of terror was widely publicized, keeping both the public and law enforcement on edge. Even today, some of his ciphers remain unsolved, leaving open the possibility that they might hold crucial information about his identity or motives. The police faced a daunting challenge. Despite the efforts of hundreds of investigators and the collaboration of cryptologists, they could not identify the Zodiac Killer. The killer's ability to strike at random, leaving minimal evidence, made the investigation incredibly difficult. Police departments across Northern California coordinated their efforts, but the Zodiac's erratic behavior kept them constantly on edge. Numerous suspects emerged over the years, with Arthur Lee Allen being one of the most notable. Allen had a suspicious criminal history and several potential connections to the crimes. He matched the physical description provided by surviving victims, and there were other circumstantial pieces of evidence, such as his interest in cryptography and a Zodiac-branded watch. However, despite these clues, no conclusive evidence ever linked him directly to the murders, and he was never formally charged. Yet, despite intensive investigations and numerous theories, none of these suspects could be definitively identified as the Zodiac Killer. The police explored every lead, from analyzing the handwriting of letters to tracking down obscure connections. But each potential breakthrough ultimately led to a dead end. The killer vanished as suddenly as he had appeared, leaving behind a trail of crime and unanswered questions. His abrupt disappearance only deepened the mystery, fueling speculation about whether he had died, been incarcerated for unrelated crimes, or simply chosen to stop killing. The unsolved nature of the case has continued to haunt law enforcement and captivate the public, ensuring that the Zodiac's identity remains one of the most enduring mysteries in criminal history. Even today, more than 50 years after the first murders, the identity of the Zodiac Killer remains a mystery. Despite decades of investigation and advances in forensic technology, the case has never been officially solved. Some believe the killer is long dead, having taken his secrets to the grave, while others think it's possible he could still be alive, perhaps living out his days in anonymity. Various theories abound, ranging from simple suspicions about local suspects to elaborate conspiracy theories that involve multiple perpetrators or government cover-ups. The lack of closure has kept the case alive in popular culture, inspiring countless books, movies, and documentaries, and ongoing debates among amateur sleuths and professional investigators alike. Though some of the Zodiac's cryptic messages have been deciphered, the central question, who the Zodiac Killer was, remains unsolved. The deciphered codes provided eerie insights into his twisted mind, but offered no definitive clues to his identity. Was he a lone perpetrator, or did he have accomplices who helped him evade capture? And why did he abruptly stop killing after such a terrifying spree? Was he incarcerated for an unrelated crime? Did he die, or did he simply choose to disappear into the shadows? These lingering questions continue to puzzle investigators and fuel speculation, keeping the mystery of the Zodiac Killer alive even decades later. The case of the Zodiac Killer is a grim reminder that not every mystery can be solved. Despite technological advances in forensic science and tireless investigations spanning decades, the Zodiac Killer remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in criminal history. His ability to evade capture, even in the face of intense scrutiny, highlights the limitations of law enforcement when confronted with a cunning and elusive adversary. The enduring enigma of his identity serves as a chilling testament to the fact that some dark chapters in history may never be fully closed, leaving us with questions that may never be answered. Thank you for taking the time to explore this dark chapter of history. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel, give the video a thumbs up, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any new content. See you next time and take care.